Something that I value enormously, and which linguistic philosophy has obviously had a great deal to do with, is the extension of philosophical inquiry to new areas of subject matter. I mean, the notion that we have touched on already, that you can apply techniques of linguistic analysis to concepts in any field, has resulted in the development of the philosophy of economics, of history, of population theory I mentioned earlier, some of the most surprising things, and I think this is very valuable and very important.
And this is partly a product of that willingness to look at each thing by itself that we referred to. It's helped now, the point we made before, by the fact that the harsh borderline between philosophy and these first-order sciences themselves has been much dissolved.
Yeah.
I think there's one further point that I think might be added there, which I think is an important one, if we could just mention it. I think that in the 50s, particularly in the Oxford variety of linguistic philosophy, it tended to think that what philosophy should do is tidy up and make neater the untidy borders between the concepts, between the ideas in these various subjects, either within the subject itself or between that subject and common sense. For instance, let's take the rather problematical case of psychoanalysis. A lot of concepts used in psychoanalysis, like an unconscious wish, or again, possibly an unconscious belief, cause a lot of trouble to our ordinary conceptual ideas. We're not used to this idea. And perhaps the philosophers then thought, well, we can, as it were, tidy this up, we can analyse it, we can make clear what the situation is. I think they'd underestimated the important sense in which new scientific discoveries make their own conceptual room, that, as it were, they just tear down pieces of language and thought that are around them in an essentially untidy and indeterminate way. And the fact that a lot of our most fruitful thought at any given moment might just necessarily be indeterminate, poorly thought out and unclear, is an important notion which we've got a bit more room for now, and I think perhaps linguistic philosophy didn't have quite enough room for.
Well, we're coming to the end of our discussion now. I think the point I would want to make finally about linguistic philosophy is that I think that used as a technique, it's of enormous and permanent value, and that it was only radically defective so long as it was regarded as being in itself a total conception of philosophy. There was a period, the period that we were talking a lot about in the 40s and 50s, when many philosophers thought that the whole of philosophy consisted of doing this. Well, that I think is clearly not the case, and probably very few people now would believe that it is. Provided it's kept in its place as an ancillary technique, then I think it is of enormous and permanent value.
Yes, as long as one accepts that, if I can put it this way, the bag in which the tools come has an absolutely fundamental idea in it which gives it its shape. This idea we've talked about the non-independence of language and thought. It's not just a bag of tools which can be applied to any old set of tasks, because the idea that shapes those tools themselves is one which has modified our understanding of the mind and our understanding of language.
Well, thank you very much, Bernard Williams.